1999 Buick Lesabre. Going to show you how to replace the front and rear struts. So I'm going to start out with the front struts. So what I'm going to do is take a block and stick it behind one of the rear wheels here, since we'll be jacking up the front end. So go ahead and crawl underneath the front of the vehicle here. Locate this cross member right here on the frame. I'm going to put my jack right in the center of this cross member, and then we can put a couple jack stands on each side to support it. So grab a couple jack stands here. I got the other side set up already. I'm going to go right underneath the subframe right here, because this pinch weld is kind of bent up here. I don't want that collapsing on us. So I'm going to go about right there. I'll go ahead and slowly lower the jack, and then I'll also leave the jack in place under there just for extra support. Now this Buick does have the old school hubcaps, so you will need this special tool if you have these hubcaps. You just take this piece right here, you're gonna get into the center cap portion of it, pop that out of there with those clips, and then you go ahead and take this in here, go ahead and unscrew this, and then you can go ahead and pop this off of here. So then grab a 19mm or 3/4 inch. Let's go ahead and remove all the lug nuts, and then we can take our wheel and tire off. So now we got access to our strut right here. And first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and undo this ABS sensor. So if you look, zoom in here, on the back side here, you got this little clip. So go ahead and press outward with that. And then as you're pressing outward, go ahead and unplug this ABS sensor here. So you can see that just unplugs like that. So there's the clip portion of it. Next, we'll remove this ABS line bracket off of the strut. You're gonna have a 10mm bolt right there. So go ahead and remove that. And then you can kind of get this bracket out of the way here. And if you need to, you can undo it from this portion here. I'll move my camera up here. You can undo it from this portion right here if you need to kind of get that out of the way a little better. Drop that over there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove the two strut bolts here holding it to the knuckle. So these nuts here are going to be a 24mm, and then your bolt's going to be a 21mm. And if yours is really rusted, go ahead and soak this in some penetrating oil. This car doesn't look too bad, so we'll see how these come off. I may have to spray them, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and just hold one end with the wrench here. Zap the other side off here. Same with the bottom one. And you can see as you do that, this will want to kind of come out. And I probably should have marked where the old strut was on the side of the steering knuckle there, just so we get the alignment kind of where it was. But I might be able to still tell, because it may leave a mark once we remove the old strut here. So like I said, if you want to, you can take a Sharpie, just kind of draw a line where the old strut was on the steering knuckle here. So now we'll go ahead and pull these bolts out of here. We may have to push this in a little bit to get these out. So let me move my camera. So if you have to, just kind of press in on this and see if you can get these out of here. So you can see these ones actually weren't bad at all. Thought maybe they'd be rusted in there. That one's harder to get out. So let me grab a rubber mallet here. I'll hit on this side, or you can use a hammer. Just be careful, you don't want to damage your threads, so you can stick a nut on there if you have to, just to hammer this out of here. But I'm going to grab a mallet that won't destroy that. So I'll go ahead and hit on that. Try to get that out the rest of the way. If you have to, you can always use a wrench to pull that out of there. You can see it just doesn't want to come out of there. So let me get a wrench here. grab a wrench or a socket. See if you can zap that out. There we go. Now you should be able to kind of separate this. Just like that. And you can just kind of tilt that to where it's sitting about like that. Just make sure you're not putting too much pressure on your CV axle where it goes into the transmission there. But I think we're good there. And then if you notice, you can kind of see where the old strut was a little bit there. So we'll get it as close as we can onto the steering knuckle here. So now let's go up top. So you want to go ahead and pop your hood. So once you get your hood open here, go ahead and locate your strut. So you got these 3 nuts holding it on here. You also got a strut bar here. So I'm going to remove these 2 first, and then I'll do this one last. As I'm loosening this one, I'll be reaching down there with my other hand, holding the strut so the strut doesn't just fall down there. So like I said, go ahead and pull off these 2 first, and that's going to be a 13 millimeter. And I'll go ahead and move my camera so you guys can see. So like I said, as you're doing this, just kind of hold the strut as you loosen up that last nut up top, so that doesn't fall down and damage your CV axle or anything like that, or your brake line here. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this while holding it. And then you should be able to kind of pull down on this. This one's actually stuck pretty good, so it's kind of holding itself up. There we go. So then you can bring this down, just kind of maneuver this around however you need to get the old strut assembly out of here. And there we go. So now let's take a look at our old strut and then our new one. So the new one, I went with the whole strut assembly. These are from KYB. They're the Strut Plus, part number SR4022. I got these off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for them. And it's going to be the same exact part number for both sides on the front there. I know a lot of different vehicles use a different part number for the left and then different for the right. But for this Buick, it's going to be the same exact part number for both sides. And then just taking a look at the strut here. The reason I went with the full assembly is because of the year of this car being so old. Just includes a new spring, and then also the strut mount and then the bearing and all that, so you don't have to mess with any of that. And taking this apart, it's just so much easier to replace the whole assembly. And if you notice, it does come with some new nuts for the top there. And then just kind of measure it up to your old strut here just to make sure everything aligns up. And these look good, so let's go ahead and throw this on there. And then also before you mount it, just take a look, because this is the gasket that was kind of sticking up there. That's why it was kind of hard to remove. So just make sure all this gasket material is off and on your old strut here and not stuck up underneath the fender well there. And as you can see, the new one does come with a new gasket as well. So yeah, just double check this portion up here. Make sure none of that gasket material's on there. And then before you go to install it, there is these little plastic protector sleeves here on the stud. So make sure you remove those before you lift it up in there. So grab a new strut. Again, go ahead and figure out how you need to get this fished up in here. Get that fed through at the top, your studs. And you want to get a couple of those started up there, those nuts. Again, just watch your CV axle down here. And if you have to, you can press down on this steering knuckle a little bit. But get those kind of fed through up top here. Started, so that way it just kind of holds the strut there. So now let's see if we can get our knuckle back into the strut here. So kind of bring this over, get that stuck in between there. You may need to press down, like I said, on this to get the bolts through. Top one and then your bottom one. So like I said, you can kind of see where the rust spot was to where the old one was kind of sitting. So if I tilt it back that way, you can see the rust there. So I'm going to say it was probably about right there. So when I go to tighten, I want to make sure that that's about sitting where it was before when I undid the nut there. So then you can just get these started. So then what to do, we'll go ahead and get these snug, and then we'll do the final torque. So I'm going to push in to about where that was lined up before. See if I can tighten this without that bolt spinning there. And of course that ain't going to work. Let me try up here. So if it does that, just grab a wrench here. Kind of hold these while you're pushing in where it's lined up where it was. That's snug. Same with this one. And then you can grab your torque wrench. You're going to torque these nuts to 90 foot-pounds. So then come back up top here. Now these new nuts are going to be a 12 millimeter instead of a 13. So let's go ahead and just get these snug and then we'll torque them. Once you get those snug, we're going to torque these to 13 foot-pounds. And you're supposed to torque these nuts here with the wheels on the ground. But we still got the other side to do, so I'm just going to torque them at 30 foot-pounds for right now. And then once we get both sides done and we lower it back to the ground, then I'll recheck the torque on these. So like I said, 30 foot-pounds. And then don't forget to clip off this little tag here off the spring. And if you notice on here, it says vehicle height may be higher directly following installation, allow spring to settle. So now we can go ahead and get our ABS sensor back into this little slot here. If you removed it from there, it just slides in there with that rubber mount. Grab your little 10 millimeter bolt. Let's go ahead and stick this back onto the strut. Get that screwed into there. So then grab your ABS line. If you took it out of this bracket, go ahead and stick that rubber portion back in there. Get your ABS sensor bracket onto the strut here, along with your 10 millimeter bolt. Go ahead and get that started in there. And tighten that up. And then you can go ahead and plug back in your ABS sensor. Make sure that clicks into place and is locked on there. Now we'll go ahead and get our wheel and tire put back on. So with the passenger side done, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the driver's side really quick. I'm not going to record that because it's going to be the same exact procedure. And when you do these struts on the front, you always want to have both wheels off the ground just because of the sway bar. It makes this job a lot easier with both wheels off the ground. So let me knock out the driver's side really quick, and that'll give me a chance for my camera to charge as well. and then we can move on to the rears. Okay guys, so over here on the driver's side, I just want to show you. So this was the ABS bracket right here, but if you notice on the driver's side, you have another 10mm bolt going into the strut, and this is going to be for your brake line, whereas the other side did not have that. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick, but it's going to be the same thing, 10mm bolt here, and then you can just pull this off. So as you can see, got the driver's side all done. Like I said, same exact procedure as the passenger side, except for this side had this little bracket here for the brake line connecting to the strut. So let me get this wheel and tire back on really quick. So once you get both wheels and tires back on, let's go ahead and we'll jack this up, and then we'll go ahead and pull our jack stands. Go ahead and grab your torque wrench. We're going to torque these lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Grab your hubcap and make sure you find the hole where your valve stem is supposed to go through. So it goes like that. Go ahead and hit this on. Get it into place. Grab your green plastic nut here. Go ahead and screw that on. Get that tightened. Pull off your tool. Grab your center cap. Go ahead and smack that in. So now that we have both wheels on the ground, let's go ahead and just check these top nuts really quick. Make sure they're torqued to 30 foot-pounds. So just double check, make sure. So you can see I do have to tighten them just a little bit more to get to 30 foot-pounds. Okay, go ahead and do the other side. So now that we got the front struts all done, let's go ahead and move on to the rears. So for the rears, before I go ahead and jack it up and everything, get it on jack stands, in order to access the top mounting nuts for the strut, we actually need to remove the rear seat cushion and then also the backrest cushion here. So I want to do that before I go ahead and jack everything up here. So we'll start out with the seat cushion first. So what we need to do is there's these little hooks under this portion of the cushion here, and we need to kind of push in with the cushion and then lift up, and then this whole bench part here should come out. So let me see if I can get you guys a good camera angle here. So what you want to do is that hook is going to be right underneath this portion of the seat. So like I said, you need to push in and then lift up. So what I like to do is actually just use your leg. So if you use your leg here, push in and then lift up, and you can see it kind of unhooks from there. So if I bring my camera down here, I'll show you. So if you notice, there is that hook right there, and then it hooks into the body right there. So now we got to do the other side over there. So again, use your leg, push that in, and lift up. Just like that. And then you can go ahead and get your whole seat cushion out of here. So in order to get the backrest off here, you can see the hooks coming down here right where the seat belts are. So we do need to undo the nut here for the seat belt. That's going to be an 18mm. So go ahead and undo that. So there's that, and then you can pull those off, just set them aside. So now that frees that up. And we got another one over here. So same thing with this one. Pull those off. And then at each end, you're going to have this, it's almost like a fastener, but it's kind of spun on there. You can use a 27mm to get that off, or if you got a crescent, you can kind of just untwist it or pop it off with a screwdriver as well. So I'm just going to try this 27mm. Let's see if that undoes it here. Yep. So you can see that just kind of twisted off of there. That's what that looks like. So now that side's free, and then we got one more. The same thing on this one. And it doesn't take much to remove those. So then what you're going to want to do is come to each side here, and we're going to just lift up from the bottom, lift this portion up. So lift up and then kind of pull out. And of course, same thing on this side here. So lift up and then out. And then you can just kind of lift your whole seat out of here. And then as you can see, that's going to give us access to our top strut nuts there. The other one is going to be right under this patch here. See if you guys can see that down in there. So there's one nut, and then like I said, the other one's right there. So now we can go ahead and get this jacked up, but I'm going to just move my block from the rear wheel over here to the front one. So to jack up the rear here, I'm just going to go right on the frame portion right there, right in front of the exhaust. So I got my jack already here. So like I said, I'm going to go right next to the exhaust in front of it there. So right on that portion of it, go ahead and jack this up. Get both wheels off the ground. And then we can put some jack stands over near the pinch welds. Okay, so I got both tires off the ground. So grab your jack stand, and I'm going to go right here on this portion of the frame almost, because like I said, these pinch welds don't look too good, so I don't really want to put my jack stands on there. So I think if we go right there, we'll be okay. And same thing on this side. This side here, just watch your parking brake cable. Don't really want to land on that, so I think right there we'll be okay. So now I'll go ahead and slowly lower this, but I'll also leave my jack under there. So just get them setting on the jack stands there. About like that. So just like the fronts, we'll go ahead and remove our hubcap and then our wheel and tire. So now with the wheel and tire out of the way, that gives us access to our rear strut here, which we'll be replacing. And kind of like the fronts, you have two bolts holding it on down here. You can see them right there. So the nut's going to be the same, a 24 millimeter, and then your bolt going through, those two there are going to be a 21 millimeter. Now before we go ahead and remove both of those, you want to make sure you get a jack underneath the control arm here, because there's going to be a lot of spring tension because of this spring right here. So if you were to pull those bolts out without a jack under there to support it, this whole control arm is going to go kind of flying downward and could injure yourself or something. So let's go ahead and get a small jack underneath this control arm first, and then we can go ahead and pull those two bolts. So just go ahead and grab a jack. You can use the one that's holding the vehicle up if you want to, if you only have one jack, since we have jack stands under there. But I like to just use one of these small jacks. Just gives you a little more room under here. So I'm going to go right at the coil spring there underneath the control arm. So go ahead and just kind of jack this up here. So I'm just going to kind of just under there for support right now. If we need to lower it, we can to get the strut out. But like I said, you want to get a jack under here before you pull those two bolts. Because if you were to pull those and then start hammering them out of there, as soon as those bolts release, this is going to go flying down because of the tension on this coil spring. So I'm going to use my impact again for this side. On the bolt side, I'm going to use a 21 millimeter with an extension and then just a breaker bar, because it's really hard to get a wrench back in here in this area. So if you can just get a breaker bar with a 21 millimeter just to hold that, keep it from spinning. Let's go ahead and zap these off now. that one. Guess I wasn't on it correctly here. There we go. So to get these bolts out of here, they can be stuck in there pretty good. I'm going to see if I can spin them out with my impact here while kind of pushing in on this. So if I kind of get them spun out. And your strut bar kind of, or sway bar kind of gets in the way there. Try this bottom one here. So there's our bottom bolt out. So we're just kind of stuck on this top one here. Go up with this a little bit. So I went ahead and jacked that up a little bit. There we go. And then you can get this bolt out of here. Not sure why it's getting stuck here. Twist it out of here. There we go. So there's that one. So then we can kind of drop this downward. Camera, so then you can, this might be stuck on here, so you can just kind of hit it like that. Okay, so now that's free. Just watch your brake line here, make sure you're not putting a bunch of pressure, which this one looks okay. So now we'll go ahead and go inside the car there and undo the two nuts up top. So then come inside here, and like I said earlier, the other one's going to be underneath this little patch here. So if you can pull this back some. So our other nut's going to be right there, and then the other one's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and undo this one back here first, since it's the hardest one to get to. And that's going to be a 15 millimeter on these nuts. And if you got a flex head ratchet, that's probably going to be your best bet on these ones. So let's go ahead and remove these nuts here. Try to do this while holding the camera is not the easiest here. So go ahead and get that one loose. Get your hand in here. You can spin off that nut the rest of the way. So there's that one. And then we'll go ahead and spin this one off here. And I might need to get, let me get an extension for this one. And then if you notice on this one too, it kind of goes at an angle. So it's going to sit on there like that. Now I'm going to use my ratchet here. That way I can kind of reach out the door here and hold the strut. So let me go ahead and move my camera outside, and I'll loosen this while holding the strut. Hopefully we'll show you. Okay, so I'll go ahead and loosen that. And if you got somebody to help you, it comes in a lot handier. But even if you pull that nut up there and it drops, it's not going to hurt anything, because there's no CV axle or anything down here that you can damage. So if it drops, no big deal. So let me go ahead and loosen this. Okay, so you can see it drop there. Grab my nut so it doesn't lose that. Okay, so now we're free. So what you can do is we need to get this out of here, so you can just kind of lift up on this and it should compress. Sorry about that, guys, my camera fell. As I was saying, what you can do is just compress this in a little bit and then try and bring it down out of here. just like that. So let's take a look at the old and new strut. So the old one here is pretty shot. As you can see, if I go ahead and press this down, it actually won't go down because it's stuck in the downward position, and I can't really get my, see if I pull it up here, it comes up, but if I press it down, you can see it just stays retracted like that. It's supposed to come up like a normal strut or shock. So I went with the, just like the fronts, the KYB, part number SR4023. Got both these off Amazon again, and I'll put a link in the description for them. It's nice because these are made in USA as well. And if you take a look here, what I like to do is, you don't know how long these have been sitting in storage, so I like to go ahead and compress them a few times, let them come back up, just to get some of that oil flowing in there. So if I press this down, you can see it wants to come up. So I'll do this a few times here just to get that oil flowing. Like I said, I don't know how long these have been sitting in storage, but that's what they should do. As you can see, the old one just sits there compressed and doesn't uncompress. So do that a few times here. And then there's also, show you guys here, on the old one, there's this little bracket here, and it's kind of taped down. So let me set my camera down so I can get this undone here. So there's this bracket, this right here, that we need to transfer over to the new one. And you can see there's like this, they put this tape on there. So just cut that tape, and then we can transfer this over to the new one here. So just pull off your nuts here, because it does come with new ones. And then go ahead and put your little bracket on there. Now we're ready to install. Okay, so now the tricky part is getting these studs lined up inside there. So I'm just going to kind of compress this again. We'll get it set down in here. Actually, I'll go this way. Let's get that kind of slid up in there. You might need to compress it a little more here. Get that down. And this is where it comes in handy to have somebody else. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look up there, see what I need to do to get the studs through the holes so we can get a couple of those nuts started there. So if you can use your right hand here, try and move the strut to get those holes to line up. And the problem is, this needs to be compressed a little bit. So what I'm going to do is lower this jack just a hair. So go down a little bit with this, okay. So right there, I think I'm in. So I'm going to hold this with my right hand here, grab a couple of the nuts, or both nuts, get them started. Just enough to get it held in there. Okay. So there we go. So that kind of holds it in place there. We can go ahead and tighten these up here. So now that I got both of those started on here, let me just go ahead and get these snug. And I don't think that's gonna fit in there. Okay, I had to swap over to my shallow 15 millimeter to get in here. And you may want to make sure that's all the way tight. Makes it easier when you're spinning your ratchet in here. So go ahead and get this one snug as well. And we'll also do a final torque at the end on these. Okay. So now let's see if we can get our bolts through here. So you may need to just kind of turn this whichever way you need to. Let's go ahead and bring this upward and see if your holes line up there. Try and get a bolt through, and you also want to get through this sway bar bracket as well. Looks like I may need to come up just a hair with the jack here. Let's see if that works. There we go. Okay. Let's see if we can just kind of pull this in a little bit. There we go. So get that through, and then your other one here. There we go. Grab your two nuts here. Get these started on there. So then I'll take my 24 millimeter on my breaker bar here. I'll hold this side with that. And I'll zap the other side here with my 21 millimeter. We'll get these snug. And I'll also torque them as well. So go ahead and grab your torque wrench, and we're going to torque these to 82 foot-pounds. Let's see if I can do this without it spinning there. Okay, so the bottom one. And then you can come back up top here, we'll torque these. But again, we'll check it after we drop the rear end. But you're going to torque these to 33 foot-pounds. A little bit over that, but that's totally fine. Swap out to a shallow socket here. Same thing on this one. And this one's a little hard to get your torque wrench in. Let me see if I can get in here with the deep well, maybe. And it looks like, yeah, I can't get in there with a deep well either. So this one, you're just gonna have to guesstimate right around 33 foot-pounds for that. And then you can go ahead and get your jack out of here. Lower that. Get your wheel and tire put back on here. So with this side all done, I'm going to move on to the passenger side. Again, I'm not going to record that because it's going to be the same exact procedure. So let me get that side done and we'll come back. So as you can see, I got the passenger side all done as well. Got my wheel and tire back on. Same exact procedure, no differences on the passenger side compared to the driver's side. So now we should be able to go ahead and let's get this lowered, and then we can start getting our seat cushions back in. So I'll go ahead and jack this up here just to get it off the jack stands. And then we can go ahead and get our jack stands out of there. Just like the fronts, we'll go ahead and torque both rear wheels to 100 foot-pounds on the lug nuts. And then I will go ahead and get both of the hubcaps back on, and then we can get the seat cushions on. So then just double check your torque here now that we got the weight of the vehicle on those struts. So again, these will be 33 foot-pounds. And like I said, that one you can't get to. So just kind of guesstimate on that. And then you can go ahead and do the other side there really quick. Once you're done, if this is still kind of sticky, you can kind of just, well, can't really put it over it, I guess. So you may just have to pull this off and leave it off. So before you get your cushion in, now is the perfect time if you guys have kids or pets or something to vacuum all this up. There was a bunch of crumbs and all that, so I went ahead and just vacuumed this out really quick. So now we can get the back cushion on here. And the key to getting this back cushion on, so you can see there's a hook on this side and then the other one on that side. And then this center one here. So that center one's gonna go down inside here. And then the other ones are gonna go up against here and then they drop down. So that's why we had to lift that out of there and then pull outward. So we wanna make sure we get them back into this clip here. So go ahead and kind of get that set up here. Just watch your seat belts on each side. You don't want to trap those behind it. Get your seat belts out here. And then, like I said, kind of feel for that clip back here. And if you can, lift up and then push down onto it. And then just pull on the back here. You'll know you're in there if that ain't coming away from this portion. And then same thing on this side, and then just double check, make sure you're in the center one there as well. So I'm gonna come up with this one. And you can kind of feel it drop down onto there. So we should be good there. So then we can go ahead and get our seat belts back on here. Put these the way they were. They were both facing like that. Get your 18mm nut started on here. Go ahead and tighten that one down. Same with your other side here. And then of course your end ones here, you can screw on. Let's see if you can almost push them on. But again, if you got a 27mm socket, you can just kind of zap those on lightly. Just like that. Go ahead and get your bottom cushion in here. And then just watch your seat belts here. Just kind of pull them up, get them where they need to be. So then what we're going to do is go ahead and latch this onto that portion of the seat there. So just push in and then just kind of bring it down. So you can see now we're clipped in there. Let's do the other side. So same thing over here. Give it a good push and then it locks down into place just like that. All right guys, so that's going to be it for the video. And anytime you do struts, you always want to take it down to your local alignment shop just to have them check the alignment and see if it needs adjusted or not. That way you don't get any abnormal tire wear. So again, this was a 1999 Buick Lesabre. Went ahead and replaced the front and rear struts. Pretty easy to do on this car. The rear ones just take a little more time just because you got to take apart the back seat. But all in all, pretty easy job. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. I'll have quite a few on this car, so check those out once I get them uploaded, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.